Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about higher order functions in JavaScript. So let's get started by opening up your favorite text editor or IED, and we're going to go and create a new file. Now the first higher order function that we're going to discuss in this video is going to be the forEach higher order function. So I'm going to call my JavaScript file forEach.js. You can call it whatever you want. And now for our forEach functions, we'll need something to loop through, right? We could have maybe an array of names, or maybe an array of ages, or an array of salaries. And that's what we're going to use in this example. We're going to create an array of salaries. So I'm going to start by defining let salary is equal to, and now I'm going to put in my values into my array. So you can pick whatever values you want. I'm just going to fill in 10 random salaries here. So you can see that we have 10 salaries in our salary array, and I think our lowest salary is 25,000 and our highest is 82,000. Traditionally with this salary array, if we wanted to go and print out all our salaries in the array, we would use a for loop, and we would increment each time, and that incrementer would be set to the index of our salary array. And we're going to go through an example of that really quickly just to show you how it could be done using a for loop. And by using a forEach function over a for loop, we can write a little bit less code, and in my opinion it's a lot easier to read and maintain your code. So let's start off by doing a for loop to see our values. So we'll start off with for, we'll create our incrementer, let I equal 0. Then we want to decide how many times we want this for loop to run. We want this for loop to run while I is less than the salary length. So we'll say I less than, and then salary dot length. Now we want to increment our I, or our counter, each time. So we'll say I plus plus. And now we get to the actual execution of what's going to happen when we run our for loop. So we want to console log our salary. So we'll say console.log, and within our brackets we'll just print out the salary as a figure. We don't want any text along with it. So we'll just say salary, then square brackets, and we're going to put I in here. So I is going to be our incrementer. I will start at 0. So in the first iteration, or the first time our for loop is ran, we will see 25,000. Then the second time we'll see 32 and 50 and 82, and so on for the rest of the elements. So if we go and run this function by going up here and hitting run, we can see we get all these values, and you can see we get 25, 32, 50, and it's printed out in the order that they're added to this array. We can see if we check what the last number is, it's 35,000. So if we scroll down to the bottom here, we can see it's 35,000 also. Now you're probably very familiar with this type of looping, using a for loop, going through all your elements, printing them out, or maybe you're going through all your elements and you're checking for something. Maybe you want to check to see if the salaries are greater than 50,000, and if they're greater than 50,000 you might want to add them to a separate array, and that separate array might be called high salaries or something like that. So we're going to be doing something similar, but we're going to comment out this for loop. So I'm going to leave it here so you can just see it and you can refer back to it. But if you see now, if we go and run this, you'll see that there's nothing being displayed. Okay, so I just don't want you to get confused when I go and use this new forEach method. So it's a little bit different. So we're going to start off with salary, and rather than having a for loop or anything like that, we're just going to add a dot, and now we're going to type in forEach. So forEach is actually a method that's attached to arrays in JavaScript. So then once we've done forEach, we have to put down two brackets, and we're going to place a callback function inside these two brackets. So we could start off this callback function by typing in function along with two other round brackets, and then having our curly brackets. And what's inside our curly brackets will be what's displayed, or what piece of functionality we want from this forEach method on the salary array. So we just want to console log all the salaries. So the same thing that we done the last time. So we want to go and console log each salary. So within our console log, we're going to print out something slightly different than what we did with our for loop. In our for loop, we printed out salary and then the iteration that it was on. So salary I would represent salary 0 or salary 1 or salary 2. But in this, we're taking in a callback function. So we need to pass in a parameter into this function because this is basically a function with inside another function. So the parameter that we're going to pass in here could be I, right? So you could say I, and now we want to console log whatever has been passed in. So I in this case isn't 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. In this case, I is 25,000 or I is 32,000 or I is 50,000. So we just put I here. We don't put salary bracket I. And if we go and run this, you can see this in our output. We get 25,000, 32,000, 50,000, 82,000. Now, I mightn't be the best name for this, but usually with higher order functions, we only use a single letter. So I doesn't make a lot of sense for incrementer because it's not really incrementing. Like a better name might be S because S is short for salary. Okay, so you'll see if we put S in here instead and we go up and run this, we can see that we get the exact same result. Okay, and as I said, this could be anything. So if you feel that it's more readable for you to put in the word salary rather than just S, so you can understand it a little bit better when you go back to the code in the future, you can put salary in here as your function parameter, and you can console log salary as well. So if I go and run this again, you'll see that it's the exact same output. So I hope you have a better understanding of the forEach method in JavaScript. If you found the video helpful, leave me a like. If you liked the video and want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Thank you.